everyone, and welcome back. You know I love a good deep dive into communication tips, and you guys sent in a great one.
Yeah, this one's called The Art of Effective Communication. It's on YouTube.
Ooh, okay, cool. And it's all about better relationships and success, so I am ready.
And it's formatted like one of those self-help audiobooks, so we're going to break down the key takeaways and give you some seriously usable advice.
I love that. You know, it can be easy to think of communication as just like talking, but this video really digs into how it's so much more.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's about connection, and trust and making a positive impact.
I like that.
Yeah.
And it all starts with realizing that communication is like the bedrock.
Totally.
Yeah.
Every interaction we have builds on itself and shapes our relationships.
You know, that reminds me of the story the speaker shared about their friend who was finally able to open up to them about something super personal.
Yeah.
It made me think about how important trust is and how being a good communicator can help create that safe space for people to be vulnerable.
Totally. It's a good example of how everyday conversations can actually contribute to strong relationships.
Absolutely. But it goes beyond just personal stuff, too. The video also talks about how good communication can be a major factor in career growth.
That's so true, because think about it.
Yeah.
The people who can articulate their ideas well and collaborate and inspire others.
Those are the people who end up as the leaders, right?
Exactly. It's not always about having the best idea,
Yeah.
but knowing how to communicate it in a way that gets people excited.
Yeah, to drive action. So becoming a better communicator can really open doors.
Oh, for sure. Tons of opportunities.
Yeah.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty here. The video really highlights how effective communication is about way more than just the words we say.
It's your whole presence, right?
Mhm.
Like body language, tone of voice, all of it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a big one. And the speaker actually shared how they had to learn this the hard way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, early in their career. They were convinced that if their ideas were solid, people would just naturally get on board.
Interesting.
But they were finding that people weren't really connecting with them.
Oh, I've been there. What did they do to change it?
Well, they realized that their body language was kind of working against them. They were closed off, not making eye contact.
Interesting.
It created this barrier without them realizing it.
Yeah.
It wasn't until they started being more open with their posture and using more engaging gestures and making eye contact
Yeah.
that people actually started to listen.
It's wild how much the little things can make a difference. Think about it. Even a joke told with a straight face
Totally different.
isn't nearly as funny, right?
Tone and expression add so much to what we're trying to say. Even something as simple as mirroring the other person's body language.
Mirroring.
Yeah, like subtly mimicking their posture. It can actually make them feel more at ease and open.
I never thought about it like that. It's like speaking their language without saying a word.
Exactly. And speaking of subtle cues, the video also goes into this fascinating world of facial expressions.
You mean like noticing when someone's smile doesn't quite reach their eyes?
Yes, it's like a secret code. Those tiny micro expressions, they can tell you a lot about what someone is really feeling, even if they're trying to hide it.
Okay, so we've got to pay attention to facial expressions, body language, and tone of voice. What else did we learn?
One of the biggest takeaways for me was about empathy.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean saying I'm sorry or whatever, but really understanding how someone else is feeling.
There's a story about Sarah that really illustrates this. She was the one who always seemed to know the right thing to say, but it wasn't because she had some magic script. It was because she was a really good listener.
Yeah, and she cared.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example of how empathy can make all the difference.
And it goes beyond words, too. Your tone of voice and your body language have to show genuine care. Think about it. A flat, I'm sorry, while you're scrolling on your phone, just doesn't land the same way as one said, with warmth and, actually looking at the person.
Being present, being engaged, that's what it's all about. And that leads us to another essential element, active listening, right? Active listening. The video actually shares this story about how the speaker wasn't really present when a friend of theirs, Mark, was trying to tell them something important.
Oh, no.
Yeah. They were kind of half listening while scrolling on their phone, and it caused a real problem in their friendship.
Ouch. We've all been there.
It was a wake-up call for the speaker to realize they needed to be more present and more engaged in their conversations.
Active listening seems simple enough, but I can see how it takes a lot of effort. What are some of the techniques that they recommend?
Well, it's more than just nodding and saying, uh-huh. It's about really giving the person your full attention, making eye contact and showing that you're with them.
So put the phone away for a few minutes.
Yeah, definitely. You can also try summarizing what the other person has said, so what you're saying is, and then recap their main point.
Makes sense. It shows that you're listening and gives them a chance to clarify if you missed something.
Exactly. And asking clarifying questions, too, like, can you tell me more about that? Or, what did you mean when you said,
But let's be real, active listening isn't always a walk in the park. Our own thoughts and biases can get in the way.
oh, yeah, definitely. We can get distracted or jump to conclusions before the person's even finished talking. The video emphasizes the importance of mindfulness here,
Yeah, that internal chatter.
quieting that down and being present in the moment.
Okay, so we've covered nonverbal cues, tone of voice, empathy, and active listening, all crucial for good communication. How do these things help us actually build strong relationships?
That's what we'll unpack next. The video goes deep into building relationships that are rooted in trust. And the speaker has some really interesting examples from their own life.
Ooh, I can't wait.
So one story that really stuck with me was about this work project where the team was super talented, but they were missing one key thing: trust.
Oh, interesting. So it wasn't a lack of skills or knowledge holding them back?
Nope. They were all capable, but they weren't working together.
Hmm.
Each person was kind of focused on their own tasks instead of the bigger picture.
Sounds like a recipe for trouble.
It was The project was falling behind, deadlines were being missed,
Yeah.
and there was just a ton of tension.
Oh, yikes.
The speaker who was managing the project realized they needed to build some trust if they wanted to succeed.
Okay, I'm hooked. How'd they do it?
Well, they started by encouraging open communication, even about their struggles. The speaker actually shares some of their own setbacks and vulnerabilities,
Interesting.
which made it safer for other people to do the same.
I can see that vulnerability can be a powerful tool for building trust.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And little by little, as people started opening up, those walls started to come down.
So they went from a group of individuals to like an actual team.
Exactly. And it had a huge impact on the project. Productivity went way up, collaboration was amazing, and they even started having fun working together.
See, it all comes back to relationships.
It does. But building trust isn't always easy. What are some practical tips for establishing trust?
Yeah, what can we do?
Well, the video highlights 3 key things. First, be consistent and reliable. Follow through on your commitments and be there when you say you will.
Reliability is huge. It's the foundation of any strong relationship.
The second tip is to communicate openly and respectfully. Even when things get tough, don't shy away from difficult conversations. Approach them with honesty and compassion.
Those are the conversations that matter sometimes.
They really are.
There.
And finally, always show empathy. Take the time to understand the other person's perspective and their feelings.
I like that. So be consistent, communicate openly, and show empathy. That's a great recipe for building trust.
It is. And trust is crucial. But the video also talks about setting boundaries.
Oh, yeah. Boundaries in communication and relationships.
It's something so many people struggle with, including the speaker themselves. They used to feel selfish about setting boundaries, but they realize it's actually essential for healthy relationships.
Right. It can feel uncomfortable at first, but it's about protecting yourself and respecting the other person.
It's not about being mean or shutting people out. It's about creating space where everyone feels safe, respected, and, able to be themselves.
I like that. So how do we go about communicating boundaries in a healthy way?
The key is to be clear and assertive, but also kind. Focus on your needs and avoid blaming the other person.
Okay, so you mean.
Instead of saying, like, you always interrupt me, try, I feel unheard when I'm interrupted. Would you mind letting me finish my thought?
It's subtle, but yeah, I get it.
It's about expressing your needs and setting limits in a way that's respectful and constructive. And remember, just as you communicate your own boundaries, it's important to respect the boundaries of others.
It goes both ways.
It does. Okay, now let's talk about something that can be a little tricky. Conflict. It's going to happen in any relationship, but it doesn't have to be a bad thing.
True.
The video actually argues that conflict can be an opportunity to grow closer if it's handled well. The speaker shared this story about a disagreement they had with a friend over a work project.
Ooh, tell me more.
Okay, so things got pretty heated, and their friendship was actually kind of on the line. They were both passionate about the project, but their ideas were clashing.
Oh boy, I've been there.
Instead of just digging in their heels, the speaker took a step back and really listened to their friend's point of view.
That's hard to do in the moment.
It is, but it was a turning point. They realized that their friend wasn't trying to attack them. She was just expressing her own concerns.
So just shifting their perspective changed everything.
Yeah, once they both understood where the other was coming from, they could have a calm and productive conversation.
Which probably made their friendship even stronger.
It did. It's a good reminder that listening is key, especially during conflict.
Yeah, it's about understanding, not just about winning the argument.
Right. So what other tips does the video offer for resolving conflicts peacefully?
I'm all ears.
One of the biggest things is to stay calm and keep an open mind. It's easy to get caught up in the heat of the moment, but taking a moment to breathe and listen can make a huge difference.
Deep breaths.
Absolutely. And active listening. It's even more important when things are tense.
It can really help to de-escalate things.
Totally. And the video suggests using I statements instead of you statements.
Hmm.
Like instead of, you're always late, try, I feel stressed when you're late because it throws off our schedule.
So it's about expressing your feelings, not placing blame.
Exactly. And that can change how the other person hears the message. Okay, are you ready to move on to persuasion?
Let's do it. I'm always down to learn how to get my point across better.
Okay, so the video has some great examples of persuasive techniques in real life.
Mm.
One that stuck out was about presenting a proposal to a skeptical team at work.
Oh, that sounds tough.
They were resistant to change, and the speaker knew they had to use all their persuasive skills to get them on board.
So how did they approach it?
The first step was to really listen to the team's concerns instead of just pushing their own ideas.
Mm.
The video emphasizes that persuasion isn't about manipulation.
Right.
It's about understanding your audience, finding common ground, and framing your ideas in a way that works for everyone.
So it's about collaboration, finding a win-win.
Exactly. In this case, the speaker focused on the benefits of the proposal and how it would help everyone involved. Instead of saying, we need to change our process, they said, imagine how much time we could save and how much more efficient we could be if we tried this new approach.
Okay, so you frame it in a way that appeals to their interests.
Right. The video also stresses using logic and evidence.
So back up your claims with facts.
Exactly. But logic alone isn't always enough.
What else is there?
Sometimes you have to appeal to people's emotions.
Yeah, I can see that connecting on an emotional level can be super persuasive.
Right. For example, they were working on a project that required big changes, and everyone was nervous about it.
Understandably.
So instead of just presenting data and numbers, they shared a personal story about a time when they had overcome a similar challenge.
So it become more real and relatable.
And by sharing their own vulnerability, the speaker built trust and helped the team feel more confident about the changes.
I like that. Okay, so effective persuasion uses logic, evidence, and emotional appeal.
It speaks to the head and the heart.
Makes sense. Now, this is great for those big, important conversations, but what about our day-to-day interactions at work? How can we make the overall environment more positive?
That's a great question, and the video has some good ideas about that.
Hmm?
The speaker actually talked about 2 different work experiences. Their first job had terrible communication, and they felt unappreciated.
Oof, not good.
Then a later job where open and respectful communication was like a core value.
I'm guessing that second job was a lot better.
Way better. And the video highlights some key strategies for creating a positive work environment through communication.
All right, let's hear them.
Number 1, promote collaboration. Create opportunities for people to share ideas, brainstorm, and work together.
Like team meetings, brainstorming sessions, even just casual check-ins?
All of that. It helps build relationships and creates a more supportive atmosphere.
Okay, what else?
Second, recognize and celebrate achievements, both individual and team successes.
You know, it's amazing how much a simple thank you or a shout-out can mean to someone.
It really does. And finally, foster mutual respect. Make sure everyone feels comfortable expressing themselves, sharing their ideas, and even disagreeing respectfully.
Now, that sounds like a great place to work.
It is. Encourage active listening, invite diverse viewpoints, and give constructive feedback in a way that's honest and kind. Remember, it all starts with communication.
If people feel heard and respected, they're going to be happier and more productive.
Exactly. Okay, we've talked a lot about in-person stuff. What about the digital world? Social media, it's amazing for connecting, but it can also be tricky.
Oh, tell me about it.
The video acknowledges that social media can be a double-edged sword. It's great for connection, but it can also be a breeding ground for negativity.
Yeah.
The speaker told a story about posting a comment that was meant to be lighthearted, but got taken out of context and caused a bunch of drama.
Oh, no. It's so easy for things to be misunderstood online.
It is, so we need to be extra careful about what we say and how we say it.
How do we navigate social media in a way that's both authentic and responsible?
Well, the video suggests a few things. First, set boundaries.
Boundaries are key, especially online where it's easy to get sucked in.
It's about being intentional about how much time you spend on social media and when you engage.
Mm.
Maybe turn off notifications or set specific times for scrolling.
I like that. Make it more mindful experience.
Exactly. Another thing is to curate your feed. Be thoughtful about who you follow. Choose accounts that inspire you and align with your values.
Create a more positive online experience for yourself.
Yes. And remember to be yourself. Don't try to be someone you're not or say things just to get likes. People can spot inauthenticity a mile away.
Be genuine. That's always good advice.
And finally, engage responsibly. Think before you click like or share or comment. Consider the impact of your words, and always double-check the source of information before you spread it. Be respectful of others, even if you disagree with them.
It's about being a good digital citizen.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about social media. Now let's switch gears to email etiquette. It might seem old school, but it's still a primary way we communicate in the professional world.
Oh, for sure.
And the speaker shared this funny story about sending a long, rambling email that totally backfired.
Aha! I think we've all been there.
They had to send follow-up emails to clarify what they meant, which wasted everyone's time.
That ideal.
So the key takeaway, be clear and concise in your emails.
Okay, so it's like a well-organized presentation, introduction, body conclusion.
Exactly.
Huh.
And pay attention to your tone. You want to be professional, but also friendly.
It depends who you're emailing.
Right. And don't forget the basics. Use proper greetings and closings. Say please and thank you and proofread carefully. Those little things make a difference.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've covered social media and email. What about other ways technology can improve communication?
Well, the video highlights the power of video conferencing, instant messaging, and virtual collaboration tools.
It's amazing how we can connect with people all over the world now.
Remember that story about using video conferencing to talk to a friend who moved overseas?
Yeah, it was like they were in the same room even though they were miles apart.
Exactly. And tools like Slack and Teams have changed how we work together. We can share messages, documents, and ideas instantly.
Technology has really transformed how we communicate.
It has. But with all these amazing tools, it's important to use them responsibly. The video talks about setting boundaries and norms for using technology.
Like having quiet hours where you agree not to send work messages outside of work time.
Exactly. It's about finding balance and making sure technology enhances our lives instead of taking over.
That's so important. We have to be in control. Okay, so we've talked a lot about external communication, but what about how we communicate with ourselves? Our inner dialogue.
Ah, yes. That internal conversation that's always running in the background.
The video explores how we can apply those same communication principles to improve our self-talk and personal growth.
It starts with setting goals. The video highlights the importance of making your goals clear, breaking them down into steps, and using positive language.
So instead of, I want to lose weight, it's, I'm going to eat healthier and exercise 3 times a week.
It's exactly. Be specific about what you want and how you'll achieve it.
And what about accountability?
Sharing your goals with others and asking them to hold you accountable can be really helpful. It's like having a cheerleader in your corner.
Support and motivation can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. And don't forget the power of positive self-talk. The way we talk to ourselves really shapes our self-esteem and well-being.
The speaker talked about struggling with self-confidence and how they started using positive affirmations instead of negative thoughts.
It shows that we can choose our words, and those words can change how we see ourselves.
Okay, so setting goals, building self-confidence, and positive self-talk. Those are all great. What about healing broken relationships? That can be really tough.
The video dives into that too. The speaker shared their experience with communication breaking down in a relationship and what they did to rebuild trust.
I'm curious to hear more about that.
They emphasized that it's not always easy, but it's worth the effort.
Yeah.
It takes transparency, honesty, and a willingness to listen and understand.
So owning up to mistakes and taking responsibility.
Exactly. And showing that you want to fix things.
It probably takes patience and compassion from both people.
Definitely. Rebuilding trust takes time. It's a journey of small steps, effort, and open communication. Okay, so we're almost at the end of our deep dive into this video, and I want to talk about one last important thing, the power of storytelling.
Ooh, storytelling. I love a good story. It's such a great way to connect with people.
It is, and the video highlights how storytelling can make even ordinary events more engaging and memorable.
The speaker told that story about captivating their friends at dinner with a story. It just shows that anyone can be a good storyteller.
It's about finding the right structure, creating characters people can relate to, and connecting with your audience on an emotional level.
Those are the stories that stay with you.
By understanding how to tell a good story, we can use that to improve our communication in all areas of life. We can inspire, persuade, teach, and connect on a deeper level.
Before we wrap up this section, let's talk about barriers to communication. We've talked about external barriers like noise and distractions, but what about the internal ones?
You mean the things inside of us that can block good communication?
Yeah, like misunderstandings, cultural differences, language barriers, and even our own emotions.
Let's start with misunderstandings. They're super common. And if they aren't addressed, they can easily turn into conflict.
So nip it in the bud.
The video says it's important to ask for clarification when you're not sure about something. Don't be afraid to say, "Can you explain that?" Or, "I want to make sure I understand you correctly."
So much better to ask than to assume you know what they mean.
Exactly. And when you're the one communicating, be clear and concise. Avoid using jargon or technical terms that people might not understand.
Keep it simple.
Now, what about cultural differences? Those can be tough.
Yeah, for sure.
What's considered polite in one culture could be offensive in another.
Oh, yeah.
So be aware of those differences and adjust your communication style.
Do your research be observant and respectful?
And language barriers, those could be a big obstacle.
Even when people speak the same language, there can be dialects and slang that cause confusion.
If you're working with people who speak other languages, try to learn a few basic phrases. It shows respect
Yeah.
and helps build rapport.
It goes a long way.
You could also use visuals or translation tools to help. And let's not forget about our own emotions.
Ah, yes, our emotions. They can be tricky.
They can be both a help and a hindrance to communication.
If you're stressed or angry, it's hard to communicate clearly.
Right. You might say things you don't mean or misunderstand what others are saying.
So step back, take a breath.
Exactly. The video really emphasizes being aware of your emotions and managing them before having important conversations.
So if you're feeling overwhelmed, take a minute to calm down.
Take some deep breaths, go for a walk, do whatever helps you center yourself. And don't be afraid to ask for a break.
It's always better to step away than to say something you'll regret.
And remember, effective communication isn't just about talking, it's about listening. Active listening is crucial, especially when things are emotional.
Pay attention to what they're saying and how they're saying it.
Understand their perspective and respond with empathy and compassion.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of great information. It's amazing how much there is to learn about communication.
And the best part is that it's a journey. There's always room to grow and improve.
I'm already thinking about how I can apply these tips in my own life. This has been an awesome deep dive.
Yeah, it really is. We covered so much today, like from the basics all the way to how to handle those tricky situations.
Right. And the best part is it's not just theory, it's stuff we can actually use to make our relationships better and our careers and, even for personal growth.
Totally. And it's a journey, you know? We can always keep learning and growing as communicators.
It's so true. I'm already thinking about conversations I need to have and how I can be more mindful.
Me too. It's been great breaking down all these insights with you.
Before we go, I want to circle back to something you said about applying these principles to our inner dialogue, that voice in our heads.
Oh, yeah. That's such an important point. And we often forget about it. We talked about positive affirmations, but there's so much more to explore there. It's like this ongoing conversation we have with ourselves.
It shapes how we think and feel and act.
If we're not careful, that inner critic can really hold us back. So how do we use these skills like empathy and active listening and clear communication with ourselves?
Yeah, that's a great question. What stories are we telling ourselves? Are they good ones or bad ones? Are we being kind to ourselves?
It's like turning those active listening skills inward, paying attention to our thoughts and feelings without judging them.
I like that.
And just like any relationship, being honest and clear is key. If we're stressed or overwhelmed, we need to acknowledge that and figure out why.
Instead of, beating ourselves up for feeling that way.
Right. Approach it with kindness and understanding.
We deserve that same empathy we give to other people.
Absolutely. So to sum it all up, I think the biggest thing we learned is that communication is about way more than just words. It's about building trust and connections and making a positive difference.
I love that.
And it's a skill we can keep working on throughout our lives, whether it's with our colleagues or loved ones or even ourselves. Empathy, clarity, and respect are always important.
Okay, so as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a little challenge. Think about a relationship in your life where maybe the communication could be better. What's one thing you learned today that you can use to improve it? Even small changes can make a big impact.
Don't underestimate the power of communication.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. See you next time on The Deep Dive.